4.6a, square root theorem. Here we go. Review. Hit pause. First 6 questions. Quiz. Go. Welcome back. So, square root of 81 should be 9. Negative times the square root of 144 should have been negative 12. If you take the square root of 4, you get 2. So this is technically plus or minus 2. If you look at the square root of 25, we know that's 5. But we also have times the square root of 9, which is 3. So this should have been 15. With 12, we know we have the 4 times the 3. Square root of 4 times the square root of 3. So this is 2 times the square root of 3. And the last one, we can break down to the square root of 4 over the square root of 9, which is the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of 9 is 3, so your answer is 2/3. So reviewing of square roots. Square root theorem says, if x squared equals c, to undo the square, we square root. So therefore, if you remember, it's plus or minus. We can get the negative and we can get the positive. Meaning, if I had x squared equals 4, I know that I can put in negative 2 and square it and get 4. Or I can do positive 2 square and get 4. So we want to solve. To solve square roots, you need to isolate the square. If you notice, in each of the 3 problems, there is no single x, except for maybe the third one. But if you notice, the x plus 5 is squared. So we need to isolate. If you look at number 1, we are isolated. So regular solving problems, if we get the x squared by itself, you're going to divide by 2. We're going to get x squared equals 9. Now we have to think, what times what equals 9? Take the square root of the x squared. Take the square root of 9. We know it's going to be plus or minus. So x equals plus or minus 3. Okay, number 2. To get the x squared by itself, it's attached to the 7, but it also has a negative 23. So if we move the 23 over, by moving the 23 over, you get 7x squared equals 126. Divide by 7, and you get x squared equals 18. Now we have to think, what times what equals this 18? So when we take the square root of x squared, take the square root of 18, we know there's going to be a plus or minus here. We can also look at this as x is going to equal to the square root of 9 times the square root of 2. So we know that it is plus or minus 3 radical 2. Okay. A little harder if we have a binomial and we square it. Well, what's attached to the binomial? The 3. What's attached to that? What's attached to this is the 7. So we need to move the 7 over. So by subtracting the 7, we get 192 equals 3 times the quantity x plus 5 squared. By dividing by 3, because we have to isolate this square part, by dividing by 3, you get 64 equals x plus 5 squared. Now, to undo the square, we square root. So by square rooting, remember it's a plus or minus. The square root of 64 is plus or minus 8 equals the square root of the x plus 5 squared is just itself x plus 5. X plus 5. Solve for x by subtracting 5. Subtracting 5. So you have, let me flip it around, x equals negative 5 plus 8, and x equals negative 5 minus 8. By simplifying, you get x equals 3, and x equals negative 13. Those two numbers, if we plug them for x, we should get 199 on the left. Well, it goes along with this Pythagorean Theorem. If you remember, if triangle ABC is a right triangle, then if you remember Pythagorean Theorem, we know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So find the unknown length of the right triangle. We need k. K is a leg. So we're going to say k squared plus the other leg, which is 4 squared, should be equal to the hypotenuse, which is 8 squared. So k squared plus 16 equals 64. If we subtract the 16, k squared equals 48. Okay. To undo the square, we square root. So take the square root of the k squared. Remember, it becomes plus or minus the 48. Think about the 48. This is going to be k plus or minus Try and think of the biggest perfect squared. So this is 16 and 3. So the square root of 16 times the square root of 3, which would be 4 radical 3. Okay. This is the exact answer. A decimal going out for a while. But if you remember, we only have a side of a triangle. You cannot have negatives. Because of the exact solution, you only need the positive answer. So our answer is just k equals 4 radical 3. Or we can say the approximate answer, if you multiply the radical 3 out, this is k is equal to 6.93. And that's the approximate answer. And that's a couple examples of square root theorem. Do your best, forget the rest. Bye for now. See you in a bit.